High on the backbone of England, the wind sweeps across the bleak Yorkshire moors. This desolate and inhospitable moorland has remained virtually unchanged for centuries. The hardy Roman centurions built their forts here, but as history was made with its wars and battles, there were richer prizes to be won elsewhere, and nature was left alone. The village of Meltham lies just off the moor. Typical of the area, the village clings to the valley bottom with its rows of stone-terraced houses and the church at its centre. Meltham has played little part in the making of history, but here in Station Street is the company which is doing much to recall and recreate history in model form. Hinchliffe Models was started in 1968 by its now managing director, Frank Hinchliffe. Frank was for many years an enthusiastic military modeler before starting the business. His experience and first-hand knowledge of the modeller's needs have enabled the company to expand to meet the growing demand for their fine quality castings. The Hinchliffe range covers every aspect of the military modelling hobby. Made in scales from 12 to 90 millimeters, the figures and equipment extend over the whole of military history. With additions continually being made, the range now includes models from the ancients to the Second World War. To consider the introduction of a new range of 25mm figures, Frank and his staff meet with the designer, Peter Gilder, to finalise the details of the original patterns. At this meeting is Jim Oden from Dallas, Texas. Jim is president of Heritage Models, who manufacture Hinchliffe models in America.
That sounds a good idea to me.
Frank is able to discuss with both Jim and Peter the particular requirements of the American market. The designer's work has to be both historically correct and artistically attractive before production can begin. The masters for the Hinchliffe range are made by designers of international fame: Charles C. Staddon, Cliff Sanderson, Julian Benassi, Dave Sparrow, Peter Gilder, and Frank Hinchliffe himself have all played their parts. From the designer's originals, a number of high-quality reproductions are made. These are carefully prepared to use as patterns for the production runs. These are the patterns to be used in the production of a 75mm model of a French Napoleonic officer. Dimensions and details are carefully checked before going forward to the mould-making stage. To form the mould, the patterns are arranged on a treated rubber disc. The object is to produce in the rubber a cavity exactly matching the pattern. It's here that the skill and know-how of the company is vital. The flexibility of the rubber and the strains imposed in casting have to be taken into account to ensure the final dimensions are as the designer intended. With the pattern in place, special locating pegs are added. These will correctly position the two halves of the mould after the patterns have been removed. The surface of the rubber is brushed with graphite to prevent the two halves sticking together as the mould is formed. It's then placed carefully over the patterns and the metal lid fitted. A heated press is used to squeeze the mould, to soften the rubber and force it into the details of the patterns. The company is the recognized leader in the field of modelled guns. The patterns for these are made from original drawings by Hinchlife's own pattern makers. Guns are Frank's special interest. He ensures that every detail of the original gun is correctly reproduced on the master patterns. In the moulding room, the 75mm mould we saw is allowed to cool before removing from the press. The pressure is released and the mould, still too hot to handle with bare hands, is taken across for opening. With the heat and pressure of the press, the rubber has filled the gap between the lid and the base. Screws are used to force the two apart. The mould comes out with the two halves stuck together. A little gentle persuasion is needed to separate the rubbers. Without the graphite, they would have formed a solid mass. By flexing the rubber, the patterns are easily removed. The moulding process doesn't damage these patterns in any way at all. They can be used many times over for making more moulds. The locating pegs remain in the mould to register the two halves when they're being cast, but before casting a way has to be made for the molten metal to reach the shapes. The runners, as they're called, are cut from the centre hole. Their size and the number to each casting depends on the size and complexity of the casting. As the metal flows in, the air has to flow out. For the larger castings, the mould is vented through small holes drilled at points where the excess metal can be easily removed. The mould can now go for its first trial casting. When cool, it's opened and carefully examined. In many cases, corrections are needed. The runners may have to be changed or extra venting added. Several trials may be needed before the mould is ready for production runs. Hundreds of moulds are kept for the Hinchliffe range. The company supplies normal customer requirements from stock, so as the stock levels fall, the moulds are again drawn out and are further back produced. In the modern casting room, the moulds go to the centrifugal casting machines. Alongside each machine, an electrically heated crucible provides a supply of molten metal. The metal generally used is a lead-tin alloy, but in some cases the new pewter lead-free metals are used. Moulding machines, which have been designed and built by the company, are in use alongside the latest American machines. To produce a casting, the mould is lightly dusted to ensure a clean joint. Then, with the two halves registered, it goes onto the plate of the machine. A top plate is fitted and the mould clamped as the lid closes. The mould then spins at high speed, throwing the molten metal out from the centre to form the casting. A timer controls the spinning time and locks the lid until the machine stops. The completed casting is now left to cool, whilst the previous cast is removed from the mould. The larger castings break away from the runners and are passed on for inspection. The smaller castings come out of the moulds still on their runners. They have to be broken off or cut off. Every care is taken at this stage to ensure each casting has been properly formed. No further work is required. The castings can now go into stock. Each figure, or part of a figure, has its own stock bin. Letter and colour codes identify each item in the range. It isn't much use making a quality casting if it's damaged when the customer receives it. The packing section have to ensure the contents of each box are separated and that they don't shake about in transit. Soft tissue fills up the box and a strong lid is fitted to prevent crushing. Hundreds of thousands of castings are stocked for the range of guns. The packer needs a checklist here, for she may require up to 30 items for each model. Special boxes are used, and again the parts are separated as they're packed. An exploded view and comprehensive instructions complete the packing. The kit is now ready for the customer. From the dispatch department, models are sent out to every part of the world. Since the company's formation, demand, both at home and abroad, has increased, and the range is constantly being expanded with new monthly releases. Although the models are sold through the retail model shops who order in quantity, a direct mail service is available in the event of difficulties. Whatever the size or application the modeler may have in mind, the quality castings form a fine base on which to build. Only you, the modeler, can provide that individual care, the skill, and the artistry which will truly reveal the quality of a Hinchliffe model. Hinchliffe Models is run by a team of enthusiasts for the enthusiast. Whatever branch of the hobby you may follow, our range offers the very best in design and quality. No effort is spared to ensure accuracy and authenticity. We hope that you, our customers, are satisfied with the products and that your hobby is enriched for having chosen a Hinchliffe model.